back to Bringing Life. Today we are processing, well it'll end up being today and tomorrow, but we have 2 deer that someone gave us and we'll be processing them from pretty much start to finish. They were quartered when they were given to us, and so we have Tim dividing them up, and then they're going to be going into steaks and roasts that will be freezing. We're cutting up some of them to can, and then the scraps and the tougher meat we'll be doing for ground beef, this isn't beef, ground venison, and that'll be going in the freezers too. But this will take you along with us on the process. We have Tim's dad with us, and his sister is helping us too, and we've got the littles over there on the, you'll probably hear them if you don't see them. So this is going to be a big family project, getting everybody involved, and then whatever's left, the parts we can't use for us, will be turning into dog food, and then the bones will be used to make bone broth for soups and just drinking as is. It's delicious. So welcome and follow along to see how we do this. So these stations right here are the chopping stations. We're cutting things up into these little pieces like this to go into quart jars to can. And we don't know a whole lot of what we're doing. We're still learning. So y'all are welcome to learn with us. But that's what these people are doing.
There's a very precise and proper way to do a deer leg, and that's not what I'm doing because I have no clue what I'm doing. But I am getting all the meat off the bones here so it can be divided up into stew meat, mostly for these legs, or just canned meat. And there'll be a little bit to cut for steaks, roast or two. So we'll get that process going, and hopefully I'll know more about it by the time I'm done than I do right now. So the main point of this is we want to get off as much of the silver skin and fat as we can. Help with the taste, not be quite as gamey. Now some of that fat can be used for tallow that could be used for soaps, candles, stuff like that. We're not worrying with that for this time. But it's not something you'd want to use for eating because of the taste.
So here I've got the meat that we've gotten so far for the jars. We're going to see how many we can fill up and get this going if possible. I'm sure some of this will end up in actual deer stew, but others of it is going to be used in pot pies, tacos, although we'll be doing ground meat for that too. Now since I'm raw packing this, I'm not going to add any liquid to it. The meat will make its own liquid. So I've had these jars sterilizing, so they're good and warm. So you want them sterile before you put anything in them. So the way I do it, sterilize my jars, is I make sure I wash them and then set them in the oven on about 200 degrees and just let them basically sit in there until I'm ready for them. It doesn't take that long to sterilize them, but that way I don't have to worry about them getting dirty in the meantime. And it keeps them warm for going into the canner. I'm going to leave an inch of headspace on these, so that's just about below the shoulder or rim on these. So this stew meat or canned meat isn't something you want to do with your good cuts of meat. It's better with more of the tougher stuff because it'll make it nice and tender with processing it to the canner. But with what we had done, I was able to get almost 4 quarts full, so I'll be back when there's more. Got Elena tenderizing these steaks for us. Okay, so I got my 7 quarts here. I'm going to be putting a teaspoon of salt in each one. I left an inch of headspace on these since they're going to make their own juice. Then there's no water. There's the salt. And then I've had my lids back here boiling, so they're good and sterile. I'm just going to set the pan over here. And I've got a clean rag. I'm just going to dip in this water and wipe the rims down of each jar, just to make sure it's good and clean. Okay. And then I know they make the little magnets on a stick. You can get these out with. Those are great. I don't have one, so I have a fork. I do not have my canner on yet. I want to make sure the jars heat up with the canner water, so there's no shock of them going into the hot water and cracking. Now if you can do it fast enough, then you have warm jars coming out of the oven. You have your stuff that goes in, and then they go into the canner, and they're not cooling down as much. But I'm not that fast yet. Okay, then you'll want your lids. It's called finger tight, so just tight without really reefing on them to get them super tight. Okay, and I'm going to set them in the canner. They're going to need to go, once they're up to temperature and pressure and everything, they're going to need to go 90 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. And I put vinegar in the water just to keep the mineral buildup from happening. It keeps your jars looking nicer. Let's get the lid on this and get it turned on. Go ahead and turn it on high for now. I'll adjust it later once it's up to pressure and I need to get it fine-tuned. But that's that for now. So we move on to the next step. And in this pan we are doing bone broth. We've got vegetable scraps in there, broccoli pieces, carrot pieces, onion papers, and of course bones, and then salt and vinegar. Now you don't have to add any kind of flavoring if you want to add that later once you actually use it for things, but we like to just drink it, so we add flavoring at the beginning too. And it looks a little rough right now, but it'll strain out at the end and we'll have us some delicious bone broth. I do have another video on that goes more into depth on how to do the bone broth if you want to check that one out. I'll be sure to link that.
Well, it's the next day and our meat grinder has arrived, so we're going to get everything that we saved to grind run through here. We've got Elena helping to cut it down to size to go through, and we're going to get busy. Alright, and that's the first run. We're going to run it one level finer, and we're going to use actually our sausage stuffer here in a bit. And well, once we decide whether we need to run this finer or not, then we'll decide exactly what we're going to do. But then we will run it right into our bags. We're going to do 1.5 pounds at a time and go from there. Alright, well that was a great idea, but I think we have a better one. Rather than doing that, we are just going to simply weigh out our 1.5 pounds. We don't need that second grind really. It's not doing a whole ton of difference. And we will just put it right into bags. So we finished using this and have the meat grinder torn apart, but I was going to tell you about that too. We knew we needed a meat grinder to take care of this deer, and went on yesterday to look. And, you know, just the little things that God does as an extra benefit in life. I went on to find one, looking for a decent one. I don't know my meat grinders all that well, but I figured a good range was probably around the $250 range. I had done a little bit of research before, enough to kind of have that idea in mind. And when I got on there, this one, it's just a little snap, but it's got a really good review rating. And it happened to be on a flash sale for $99 yesterday. So I ordered it. It was delivered today. And it's done a good job. We'll plan to link that down in the description. You can check it out if you'd like to see it there. But pretty happy with how that worked out.
So, out of 2 deer, we ended up with 15 pounds of the ground deer. I think 4 roasts, several meals worth of steaks, back straps, tenderloins, and then 7 quarts of canned deer meat, as well as plenty of scraps for dog food and bones for lots of bone broth. So, this is a great haul, and we are thrilled. Thanks for joining us on this learning experience. We didn't really know what we were doing when we started, but we know a little better now. And if you found this informative, then please like and subscribe, and we will share with you our next experience and adventure. Yawning. Don't start. It wasn't recording.
Are you serious?
No.
You're not?
I'm not supposed.
What's that?
Talking me into crap.
Dominoes in the background, and I just keep talking.